Lieutenant Colonel, I know you served in Germany, Iraq, Operation Desert Storm. You re-enlisted after 9/11. We want to thank you for all of your service. The IDF saying Gaza City is surrounded, that these terrorists are being cut off with, I believe they're back to the sea. Do we know any more of this strategy to push them into a corner, essentially, cut them off from others helping them?
There's definitely an effort on the ground by the IDF to completely encircle Gaza City. I'm sure that they're going to have other targets later on, but it's very clear that their number one target is going to be Gaza City. And they've moved one in the southern part of that to completely cut off all the way to the sea. Any effort, any ability of any of this aid effort to be getting through to Hamas. They've also had a northeastern and a northwestern penetration into the zone, one down the coast and one in the northwest corner. The attempt is clearly to eliminate all the area around the city where Hamas could come out, could go in, and to clear the path of it. But then the hard work is going to really begin, because then once that happens and everything is surrounded, now then Israel has to go in on the ground. And that's when you get into this building by building clearing, room by room. And that is an expensive and very difficult infantry fight. And that's when the casualties will probably really start rising.
And that's that hand-to-hand combat that we're hearing has already begun. What is the biggest difference that we know of between the way Israel's fighters are trained? This is a rite of passage for every youth of the Jewish state, and the training of these Hamas fighters by Iran.
Well, there's really not, frankly, too much difference in how they're trained, except that in this case, ironically, it's the Hamas fighters that probably have the advantage, because they knew this was coming. So they've been planning literally for months. They've been doing training exercises, actually out in the open. It was, I guess, the Israeli missed the significance of the training, but they have been doing this for a while. They're mentally prepared, whereas Israel, everything started on the 7th of October. They had no idea that they would be having to have such a large-scale incursion of hundreds of thousands of reservists. So they're a little bit behind on that, and they haven't trained on this large scale. Obviously, they're doing that now, and they're preparing, and they're getting ready mentally as well as physically. But once this fighting starts, almost all of that becomes neutral, and it's just man on man, and the psychology of war against each other, and this really horrible. It's the worst kind of fighting, the hand-to-hand stuff in close quarters.
Yeah, well, obviously, we've seen some of the worst atrocities hand-to-hand with civilians that we've ever had broadcast on social media, that's for sure. Should Hezbollah strike in a bold way, which some have predicted, can Israel handle both terror groups, two fronts?
Yeah, that's a great question, because based on what Nasrallah said, the leader of Hezbollah, just probably within hours from now, that could be a very important point. Without question, in my view, Israel can definitely handle this, because there's some in the United States that says if Hezbollah does attack from the north, then the U.S. should get involved. And I say absolutely not. Blinken is actually in the region right now to try to make sure that doesn't happen, that the war stays confined to within the Gaza Strip and between Israel and Hamas and no other actors, because Israel can't handle it. That's why we've been providing them $3.8 billion of aid for many, many years, for decades, so that they could develop military that could handle even a two-front war. And I think that they can.